Most people believe discipline is a personality trait, that you either have it or you don't. Some people are just born organized and consistent, while the rest of us struggle our entire lives to catch up. But psychology tells a very different and, frankly, more hopeful story. Because discipline isn't about your fundamental character, and it's not about having some bottomless well of willpower either. Just think about it for a second. If discipline really were a personality trait, the same people would be disciplined in every single situation. At work, with their money, with their health. They'd be unshakable under stress and just as consistent when nobody is watching. But that's not how reality looks. Highly disciplined people fail. Successful people break their best habits. And even the most consistent individuals we know struggle when the pressure is on. So what's really going on? Research in psychology shows that discipline is situational, not personal. It depends on a handful of critical factors: your available mental energy, the sheer number of choices you've been forced to make, what's called your decision load, your current level of stress, your physical environment, and even the time of day. In other words, the same exact person can be a model of discipline in one situation, like at the office from 9 to 11 a.m., and fail completely in another, like trying to avoid junk food at 9 p.m. It's not because they changed as a person between morning and night, it's because the conditions around them changed. And that is a critical distinction. Psychologists Roy Baumeister and John Tierney spent years studying self-control. Their research found that it behaves less like a permanent trait and more like a limited resource, like a muscle. Every decision you make, from what to wear to how to answer a tricky email, costs a little bit of that mental energy. Every single act of self-control, resisting a distraction, pushing through a tough task, drains it a little bit further. This is why, by the end of a long day, sticking to a diet or a workout plan becomes so much harder. It's not because you're a weak person, it's because you're depleted. This one finding explains a phenomenon that so many of us misinterpret as a personal failure. And this leads to the story we tell ourselves. When people fail to stay disciplined, they often say things like, "I just don't have enough discipline," or "I'm not that kind of person," or "I guess I just lack willpower." But that diagnosis is almost always wrong. The problem usually isn't who you are. The problem is how your life is structured. A day filled with too many back-to-back decisions, an environment with too much friction between you and your goals, a schedule with too little recovery built in, no reliable systems in place. Discipline doesn't just snap suddenly. It breaks gradually under the weight of a poorly designed system. This changes the entire question. Instead of asking, "How do I become a more disciplined person?" a better question is, "How do I reduce the need for discipline in the first place?" Because the people who appear the most disciplined don't rely on superhuman willpower, they rely on structure. They build routines. They follow simple rules. They engineer their environments to make the right choice the easiest one and the wrong one the hardest. That's where real, sustainable discipline actually lives. Discipline is not a personality trait. It's not something you're born with. It's a result of structure, energy, and design. And once you understand that, discipline becomes less about forcing yourself and more about setting yourself up correctly. That's what we'll explore in this series.